Welcome to the Marketing Advent Calendar, Day 8. I'm your hostess, Mandy Thompson. Today, we're going to talk about the unsung hero of marketing. And that unsung hero of marketing is data. So much focus goes into the types of campaigns we run, our ad copy, our creative, and our messaging, our landing pages. But what I have found to be true, whether working with small organizations, large companies, is that data collection, data analysis, even for, I remember taking a course years ago and some pretty big companies were in the room, and the lack of ability when it came to data was surprising. So we're going to talk about it, and also how you can make sure you have good data collection in order so that you can make good decisions based on real information to improve your campaigns in a way that is definitely, that works, because we're basing it off of information, objective information. So while we're doing that though, we're gonna brew some coffee. So kind of like I did the other day, we are on the 8th day here of the Coffee Advent Calendar with Onyx, and we have a Rwandan washed coffee. As I've told you before, naturals are my favorite. So for my afternoon coffee, I'm dipping into Cosmic Turkey, which is a blend of an Ethiopian and a Nicaraguan natural. Now that coffee comes from Brandywine Coffee Roasters over in Wilmington, Delaware, and they have unbelievable coffee art and unbelievable coffee. The people there are wonderful, so I highly recommend ordering coffee from them. So talking about data. So first tool that everybody should be using is Google Analytics. It's free, and it's going to give you some really nice information about your web traffic and about your website. So using Google Analytics, we're going to collect information like total traffic that you've had to your website, what pages were visited, how often, there's a metric called the bounce rate. And so how often do people come to one page and leave versus go to 2 pages or 3 pages? So you get to see your bounce rate, which helps you to understand how engaging your website is and how engaging people are finding your website to be. We're going to get demographic information from Google Analytics. We're also going to get device information and browser information. So we can learn a lot about your website and about your audience from Google Analytics alone, which is really easy. You can install Google Analytics by placing a tag into the head of your website. And if you use a tool like, if you use a plugin for WordPress, or you're using Squarespace or Wix, there's a place to just drop in your Google Analytics code that's really easy. Now, if you want to take this a step further, you can use Google Tag Manager. So Google Tag Manager allows us to collect more custom data. Now, this is also good for your search engine optimization, because rather than just knowing when people go from page to page, we know how far down the page they scroll if we set tags up for that. We know what buttons they click, on what pages, what the text on the button says. So then we can start to pull in some other data for our analysis that looks at some of what we like to call behavioral analytics, and understanding a little bit more about not only what individual users are doing on your website, which you can learn from the User Explorer tool in Google Analytics, but also what cohorts of people are doing. What happens when people have been to your website twice and they click this button? If that often leads to a conversion, then we want to continue to send people to that path because it converts well, and continue to optimize it to make it better and better. So behavioral analytics can really help us to understand, rather than seeing the page as a whole, then we can actually get into like nuance, like how does this call to action do? Does this video help us get conversions? And then we can start to optimize pieces of our page, because we can pull in how long somebody watched your video for, how far down this page they scrolled, all of the buttons and links that they're clicking on the website. And then if we want to dig a little bit deeper, we can start doing heat mapping. So heat mapping allows us to record individual user sessions, so we can see how someone actually moves through different web pages, and all of that is anonymized. You don't see what people type into boxes or anything like that. Or we can see how their mouse moves. So using heat maps, we see how often people move their mouse to a certain section of the page. And this also gives us indicators about engagement. Other places you can get data, quick polls and questions on your website. Do you like this page? What do you think this page needs? Hotjar is a great heat mapping tool, and it comes with those polls and questions as well. But the biggest lesson from this is listen. get the data, listen to it, and similarly, you're going to have data on your campaigns that you can look at, but your campaigns are probably driving people to your website. And just as important as your ads and your click-through rates and your CPMs is how well your pages perform once people get to them and your ability to understand why they do or don't perform. So hopefully this helps. Great tools to use: Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Hotjar, Google Optimize. You can get great data, run experiments, and make sure that you perfect the landing pages that your campaigns go to so that you can get the best results.